Yeah, well, we'll all be keeping our fingers crossed as well for him and all the riders as they make their return to Argentina. So now seems, Keith, like a good time to do your insider's guide to Argentina. And it's been a while. What's it like? I've never been. Many people haven't watched it, obviously, in a couple of years. Tell us all about what we might expect this weekend.
Well, if you're a vegetarian, don't go. I have never seen so much meat on offer in my entire life. I came back the first time I went there and I went out in the garden and started munching on the grass because I hadn't had anything green down my neck for so long. It is a meat eater's paradise. Steak everywhere. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. And if you fancy a snack before you go to your bed, you get a T-bone. It's incredible from that point of view. I love that. Termas de Rio Hondo is a long way north of Buenos Aires. You fly into Buenos Aires. It's the longest flight that you do. It used to be the longest flight I think an aeroplane could do once upon a time. Like I think it took us 15 hours to land on a BA flight. They have that contingency, obviously, fuel-wise, and we'd gone round because there's always fog at Buenos Aires, believe it or not, early in the morning. So you end up flying round and round and round and round for an hour before you can land, or they'll take you to an alternate runway. Luckily, our BA guys were fairly well on it, and they'd filled the thing so we could go round, so we could land at Buenos Aires. But it's a long flight, but mate, it's worth it. Buenos Aires is a great city anyway. Strangely, you feel, as a Brit, you feel slightly alien. This obviously doesn't work for our more international viewers, but from a British perspective, because of the Falklands War, the Malvinas War, whatever side of the flag you flop on, it was politically a devastating time for Buenos Aires generally. And there's still a massive, great memorial and a museum in the middle of Buenos Aires, basically stating the case as to why it's Malvinas, not Falkland Islands, and so on and so forth. I ain't even going there regarding anything to do with that. But my point being is that at first I felt like this might be an uncomfortable situation, being a Brit in Buenos Aires, being that it still feels quite, that subject is still very alive there. Never was I treated better, never were we treated better than we were in Argentina. Really, really nice people. Whatever the underlying political situation there is, never treat. I remember that the first time I went, we had our national anthem up on the podium. No booze, no squeaking, no nothing, just respect for sport, and I really enjoyed that. Termas is, like I say, quite a way north. You wouldn't want to drive it, that's for sure. The roads are pretty horrible, and there are bandits around still as well. But you fly up there. It's a bit like going to a 1980s Grand Prix with new motorbikes around it. The town, the city of Termas, is unbelievable. It's a riot. You've never had. You can try sleeping, forget it. Like the place is alive. Policemen with every kind of weapon that you've got hanging on your belt. They look like something out of Village People with machine guns and machetes and God knows what. You don't argue with the police there, that is for sure. But no trouble did I ever see. Great time was had by all of us. A big crowd of us obviously out there. And then the track itself, great track. I really like the Termas track. Again, it's another one that Zeffeli of Dromo sorted out and made good. This guy's got a bloody name for himself. Remember, he was the one who sorted out Silverstone after the debacle of the wrong surface. He came out and sorted that out for Silverstone as well. So this guy, we hear about Tilke all the time because he's the one that gets the big money off Formula One. But Dromo is the guy that goes and sorts everything out for us bike persons. I'm sure he does it for cars as well, but it's the bike guys that we tend to talk about a lot more. He's really made a great racetrack out of it, really made it work. We were talking about Jack Miller a bit earlier on. Well, it was also the track that threw turmoil into Jack put in that fantastically, ridiculously out of control pole lap on difficult conditions. Again, that's why I said what I said a little bit earlier. Jack might have been thinking that he might have been able to do a bit more with Indonesia than he did because of the different conditions. Well, we've seen the proof of that, and the proof of it's been at Argentina when he stuck that lap in. And then the whole bloody grid were penalised for doing what they did, and they restarted the race with Jack like at the front of the grid and everyone else off the back row. Took them ages to space them all out properly at the back. And that iconic picture of Jack so far in front of everyone else as the race started didn't work out for him in the end in race win terms. But Argentina, They've had a big burn up as well, quite literally. The whole pit complex burnt down last year, I think it was. So that's all had to be rebuilt, which is probably a good thing because the press office is on the top floor, and that leaked water every time it rained all the way through on all the desks in the press office. It's basically, it looks a bit. I don't know what it looks. It looks like they've got a lot of parts cheap from somewhere around the world. Like the doors on the garages are like these massive, great roller shutters that don't quite work. That look like they're for getting double-decker buses under. They're so tall. It's not really made for a motorbike or a race car pit. It looks like they've got all this stuff somewhere in a jumble sale and built it into this. And the first time we went there, they were still welding the steps up to it as well. In fact, to a point, and I'm not cowardly. I looked at the steps and the way they welded them, and I thought, that don't look like good engineering. I'll go the other way. Because there were hundreds of people on these steps with just a few little struts that had only just been welded, and a bit of red oxide paint over the welds to try and keep it so it didn't go rusty and fall down. So it's not Silverstone, let's put it that way, but great atmosphere, great racetrack, great racing. The final part, the final corner, they've got so many corners on it that are iconic for me, but that final run into that final kind of chicane that isn't a chicane, but one where you can really ram it up the inside. Brilliant end of lap opportunity every time. You go wide and take the proper line through it, someone's going to be under. You go tight and take the tight line through it, someone's going to be over you by the time you get to the line, which is just a short distance out from the final corner. Great racetrack. Great, and again, great country, highly recommended. I know I sound like an old broken gramophone when it comes to racetracks, but it's another one I love.
Grab a ticket, grab a steak, and you're all good to enjoy some MotoGP action. Pete, what are you looking forward to this weekend? Anything you want to highlight that you got your eye on?
Well, I want to go to Termas now after Keith's done that job of selling it to us. I think actually it's the only one out, apart from the two new events this year, it's the only one that I haven't been to. So I was listening and enjoying Keith's description there, and I know friends that have been as well in the past, and they say similar things. I mean, incredible place, incredible stakes, and the World Championship should have a variety of places, shouldn't it? Not just the countries, but also the character of the circuits and the events. And I think Termas, by the signs of it, certainly ticks that box. It's not just another event added to the calendar, is it? I think there's certainly enough unique features about it. And as Keith was saying, it usually produces the track. Zaffelli designed it also with overtaking in mind. We usually get some decent action in the races. The end of the lap is actually quite similar to Mandalika, isn't it? That sort of braking on an angle bit. So we've got sort of a bit of a flashback to 2 weeks ago with that. But we haven't been there for 2 years. Tyres, obviously, big talking point last time. This new current generation of Michelin rear tyre construction has never been used at Termas because it came in 2020. So we haven't had a chance to use that yet. So that's another thing to just to add to the mix. Obviously, they have plenty of experience with that tyre at other tracks. So it's not quite the same as at Mandalika, but still, it's never been used at that track. It's usually a dirty track, isn't it? Quite dusty. It takes quite a lot of time to clean up. So it's another one, like all these 4 flyaways at the start of the year. It's another one that's really, really hard to call. And it's going to be... and the weather again. We've had some wet sessions there, haven't we, in the past? I don't think we've had a wet race, have we? But we've certainly had some the odd drop of rain. So yeah, I think humidity, Keith. I think there's a big lake nearby, and you just linked. You read my mind, Pete. That's pretty impressive from 6,500 miles away. There is a massive lake there. I mean, from the BT Sport team, obviously Susie Perry doesn't go to this one because she got dengue fever some time ago, and double dengue fever is not good for your health. So this is why you won't see Susie Perry on the BT squad this weekend. And it is a massive lake, and you have never seen so many bugs. If you do go, you will need to take some cream with you to keep the beggars away, because it is on a lake. In fact, part of the roadway that leads to it is when the lake has drained away, like it has. They allow you to drive through the lake bed effectively to bypass the front of the track. And we call it Trimby's Road. There's a special road that's one way. Mike Trimby, of course, being the head of IRTA, International Race Teams Association. Trimby's a man that's organised at everything he does, and he's mega good. And basically, he organised this special road that went one way all the way into Termas, the town. And it was only if you got one sort of pass on. It wasn't for any fans or anything. It was for
organisers, and not that Trimby needs it, because basically he stays in the hotel that's right at the track. So this isn't for Mike, by the way. This is for everyone else that needed to get back to hotels, because the roads are absolutely rammed with people. It's like a massive festival. You can't. It's like a pop concert turning out every single day. You know, you're trying to meander through people that are walking and got their push bikes and they've got their kids and everything. It's a nightmare to get back to your hotel if you didn't have this one. And the reason for mentioning this one thing is there's this massive hydro bloody electric dam. And you stop on Trimby's bloody road and you look at it and you think, wow. And you then follow the river all the way into Termas. So there's so much, and there's like lots of parking places for a picnic on the way as well. So you can do all of this on Trimby's Avenue. You'll hate me calling it that. But it was Trimmers who sorted this out, because no one could get back. Nobody could get back to their hotels in time after a long day. It was just all blocked. So we had this one-way system that took you in, and then one way the other way back to the track in the morning, so you could get in on time, because there were so many people up there.
I mean, you've sold it for me. I'm desperate to book a flight somewhere, so that sounds like the place to go, really. Now, Pete did say, going to be a difficult one to call. It's time for your predictions, please, for this weekend. I think this is going to be a really difficult one based off, I mean, they're always difficult, but at the moment, there's 1 point on the board for Keith after last week. Who did you get that for? You managed to say, who was it? It was, I think you got Quartararo on the podium, so you got a point for that, but in the wrong place. But either way, you got the podium, so I'll give you the point. But still 0 for me and Pete. Or Pete and I, as I should say. Someone corrected me on that last time out. Thank you for that. Who wants to go first? Keith, you look like you're chomping at the bit there.
Well, I picked up the good old Riders' Performance of 2019. I thought I'll print that out just to have a little quick look at it. And I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, 2019, last time we went there, Marquez the winner, Andrea Dovizioso, second place, Valentino Rossi, third place. I mean, Alex Rins had a fourth. Danilo Petrucci's gone bloody Dakar racing since then. He's fifth. Cal Crutchlow, Yamaha tester now, sixth place. Nakagami seventh. Miller only eighth after that. Where did he end up? He was fourth in the race. Must have been the year before, 2018, when he had that bloody weird start, I would think then. Not so, 2019. Yeah. So forgive me for those of you that are listening that are now correct or were correcting me. I've finally corrected myself. Vinales, Quartararo only 12th back in 2019. Back in the day. So what am I going to go with? Miller. I'm going to have Miller as a winner.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Miller. Miller Rins Quartararo.
Oh, okay. Miller Rins Quartararo. All right, Pete, go on. You're up next. I'm still thinking.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, when you look back at the past winners, it's either been Honda or Yamaha, basically, isn't it? And it's been a good track for Marc, obviously, but we don't even know if he's going to be there. So I'll go with Quartararo. If there's a rough explanation other than a pure guess, it's that maybe these track conditions could be a bit like Mandalika, a bit dirty, a bit dusty, and he seemed to cope with it all right there. So I think, I'll go with pole second. I keep backing this new Honda to put a result in, so I'm going to continue with it. As I say, it has traditionally been a good track for Honda, but this is a very different Honda this year. Third, Bagnaia.
Oh.
I'm going to go with him to finally, 1 point out of 50 so far. I think he was sounding really confident up until the rain in Mandalika. So I think, and to be honest, he's got to, isn't he? He's getting to the point now where if he's going to fight for this championship, he needs a result and a podium at the very least, I think.
Yeah, it's critical times for Bagnaia at the moment. He hasn't made my podium. I've gone for a Quartararo win as well, but then I wanted Miller up on the podium. I wasn't sure where to put him, but because Keith has put him as the winner, I'm putting him in second. And I've gone for the other Suzuki, Mir. I think he'll squeeze onto the podium in third. So that's my 1, 2, 3. So we'll see how that one pans out. We need to get some points on the boards, Pete. Let us know your predictions as well in the comments below on Twitter or wherever you're listening to this too. Always enjoy reading them. So far, I don't think anybody has got a complete podium yet, and it's just highlights how competitive this championship is. You just cannot predict it week in, week out. But just a couple more days until we're ready for round 3 in Argentina. Keith, I was about to call you Keith. Keith, Pete, Many thanks, as always. Make sure you're tuned in across crash.net for all the latest news and analysis across the week. And then we shall be right back here as ever next week. Get your questions in, leave them in the comments section, or tweet, Instagram, or Facebook us. Just search Crash MotoGP. Leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts as well. And we'll be right back here to look back at Argentina. Let's hope it's a good one.